Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, and Ryan's is RHOM22. It's cold tonight. It's cold. I can't lie. It's cold out here tonight, man. We got the hoodies on. It was like good, where I'm crying about it. But my folks back east are like, what are you talking about? It's 28 degrees where my parents are right now. Ryan, how you doing today?
Good. I was watching the news this morning, and they were just talking about the storm that's rolling through the Northeast and the blizzards, and then they went to the local Southern Cal weather, and they're like, "We have frost," and I'm like, "Oh man, like we're cold with frost. They're dealing with blizzards."
I don't miss black ice. That's the one thing I tell you, man. I don't miss black ice. But with the Key and Peele skit, black ice is hilarious as well. If you've ever seen that one. Thanks for folks listening in New York City, Miami, Florida, and we got San Antonio, Texas as well, watching and listening to the Put on Raiders podcast. If you can also right below, you'll see that little animation. Like, comment, and then also get that alert button. Hit that alert so you know when we drop a new show as well. Ryan, you had as I had some time to go through the all 22. I know you posted a bunch of stuff on the Twitter box, if you will. What were some of the things you saw in this ball game that kind of either obviously the Raiders lost it, so like what kind of contributed to that?
I think the first thing that stood out is offensively. They basically changed their blocking scheme. They a lot more duo, a lot of double teams at the point that we haven't seen a lot of with Jacobs in there. So they've clearly changed away from like an outside zone team with Jacobs to more of a power gap scheme with Zamir White the last couple of weeks. And I think they should have stuck to it earlier or gone to it earlier and then stuck with it, especially in the short yardage. They were moving guys. I know we only averaged 3.6 yards a carry, I think it was, but there was several 8-9 yard runs that he ripped off. And the Raiders should have fed him more in this game and relied on his ability to get those tough yards. And then I think defensively, I will say offensively, Trey Tucker played his most snaps as a Raider, and Hunter Renfrow hardly saw the field. I think we're going to see more of that this week. And it's obvious when Tucker's on the field that he can just run by corners at times. If they're going to single him, and they put him on the backside of these formations by himself, where he got single coverage, and they used Adams and Myers on the same side on a 2 wide receiver side set. And O'Connell just didn't look at him very often when he was over there, but it's clear that his speed is a factor, and they probably need to continue doing that. And I think Hunter Renfrow's days are numbered. He will not be on this roster. It doesn't matter to me who the coach is next year. I don't see Hunter Renfrow as a fit.
Yeah.
They need that speed on the field because without that speed, Myers runs like a 4.6 or 4.65. Like, he's not fast. And Adams has never been a burner. He can get open, but he's not a burner down the field.
Yeah.
I think defensively, I think we saw, a lot of the same, some mixed coverages. There was a lot of good design. And then they just had the 2 big plays they gave up, and they couldn't stop the run, really. Jerry Tillery, for some reason, had the second most snaps at defensive tackle, and he was just getting road graded most of the game when he was out there, and he wasn't holding up. And, for some reason, Adam Butler got less snaps than Jerry Tillery inside. And I think on the back end, like I said, the coverage, Jack Jones, that his aggressiveness got him a couple of times. I still think that deep ball, when I looked at it if you watch the replay, if you go look at the all-22 of the ball that Amik Robinson gave up for the touchdown, I think he's expecting help on the post. And you can see they lined up with 6 offensive linemen and a tight end to that backside. And Marcus Epps is talking to Jack Jones pre-snap. Like, one of those guys is responsible. If those guys stay in a block, and they both did, and Hobbs came on the blitz from that same side, there's not a receiver going out for a route to that side of the field. It's a 2-man route. Like, one of those guys has to get back and help the post. And I think it was Jones, and you saw him kind of run out late. So they got Jack Jones a couple of times in this game. He was just over aggressive in coverage, and they had a good game plan to attack him. But overall, I just think they didn't have a lot of juice when they came out. They didn't use the running game, and then defensively, they just didn't get the turnover they needed to help the offense out. And then Antonio Pierce on top of that just wasn't very aggressive in 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 situations, especially when he crossed midfield, and that cost the team.
Any reason in this game where you would say that you think they would not run the football? Like, it seemed like I can't think of a reason why they wouldn't come out and be a little bit more balanced in this game, or you know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out. Like, I know they had some corners. We in the pregame we talked about having some corners that the Raiders could take advantage of at times in this game, but like still the bread and butter of this football team, has been Josh Jacobs and Zamir White. Now that and obviously Zamir White because Josh Jacobs is hurt, like what, like it kind of baffles me a little bit. You're down to your backup tight ends, like why not just like run the football?
We also talked about to attack cover 3, you want to run out routes and comeback routes. They didn't really do that until late in the second half when they started moving the ball pretty easily down the field. So still a lot of in-breaking stuff, running into coverage where you have multiple defenders in the middle of the field. You have 2 middle hook defenders, and they're running in routes and digs rather than working one-on-one on the outside. So I don't really understand the offensive game plan from this game. And like we talked about on the last episode, that falls on AP's plate as well.
Yeah, he has to do it. And it's funny because there's somebody in our we have I have like a Raiders on Twitter. I have a Raiders chat that we have go back and forth, and they show a video of why am I blanking on the coach from Mike Tomlin? and he's screaming at the offensive corner, hey, listen, don't get conservative here. Don't get next time we get the ball, I want to see the ball in the air. Those corners can't cover. Like, he's talking to him directly to say, hey, let's dial up some plays to make sure that we take advantage of the team's weaknesses there. I mean, listen, it's all by fire right now for him. I get it. I'm not sitting there. I'm not. Vince Lombardi wasn't born Vince Lombardi. He was, but the football coach part of it, he had to learn some of it. So I get it. But I mean, if that's your thing, you want to be known for being physical and running the football. And at times they did it very well. I'm not sure why they just didn't do it.
I also learned this week there is a faction of the fan base that's Bo Hardegree stands. I don't know how people want Bo Hardegree to come back. I just don't understand it.
Are they saying give him a quarterback? They're not saying that, are they?
Give him a quarterback. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And my thing is, if AP is not going to be super involved in the offense,
oh my God, I love you.
He needs that veteran guy, but
I love you.
He's got a first-time play caller up there. AP should be talking to him throughout the game, like you said. You saw Tomlin doing. He might be doing that. We don't know, but the plays that are coming down on 3rd and 4th,
they don't show it.
Aggressive don't show that. Oh, there are Bo Hardegree stands out there. There is a fact. It's like if anyone, front office, offensive coach, defensive coach, if they have coached at all for the Raiders, all of a sudden they're Hall of Fame coaches. They should stay no matter what. We should not get rid of them. There is a faction of the fan base that thinks that, and it's you have to have an open mind. Like there are better coaches out there.
Wow, that shocked me right there. Nothing in Raider Nation, nothing Raider Nation should shock me, but that shocked me as far as that goes. Thayer Munford, they kind of went back and forth with him and Colton Miller. He got hurt? He got hurt, so he got hurt now. So they got a hole at left tackle now, right? Because he got hurt, and then I don't think Cole Miller's 100% either, right?
Munford has not practiced this week. Miller actually had his first full practice today.
Okay.
So there's a chance he's going to play, and we might see Brandon Parker on Sunday.
Can you explain duo for the folks?
Yeah, duo it's basically power without a polar. So you have 2 double teams. So usually it's run to the strong side. So you're going to have a tight end on one side of the formation, and usually the center will work to the backside with let's just say they're running it to the right. The center will work to the backside with the left guard. So Parham and James will double team. And then on the front side, on the play side, you'll have the left guard and the guard and the right tackle double. One of them will work to the linebacker, and the tight end will take the in man on the line of scrimmage in a 4-man front, and then it's up to the running back to read the middle linebacker and decide where to go. So it's basically you're just getting 2 double teams and just trying to create a vertical push with the offensive lineman, and then let the running back read the linebacker and decide which way to go. There's not like a designed hole where he's running specifically through the A gap or the B gap. He's just reading the linebacker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
But it's basically you're just trying to move people without pullers, and you just have 2 double teams. The key, like I said, it's always run to the tight end side. So you always want to see that, and the center always works to the backside. If not, it's very similar to almost inside zone. If the center works to the play side, it's a zone play. If he works to the backside, it's duo if there's double teams. But it takes 2 double teams. Unlike Kurt Herbstreit, who mentioned it on the telecast of the game the other day when there was only 1 double team and he's screaming, "They're running duo," and I'm like, "That's not duo, Kurt." But all right.
Hey, listen, he was hurt. Him and Paul Feinbaum were hurt, man. They couldn't get get their boys and they couldn't get Alabama in the championship game. Crosby and Kuntz have been forces in the pass rush. Didn't really see too much of them in this game. Was it just double teams? Was it just like they just didn't? It just wasn't their day. Like how? Like what were the Colts doing in this ball game to stop that pass rush?
Yeah, I just think
they ran it a lot. They ran it a lot too.
Sorry. Yeah, Kuntz didn't win like he had been winning, and you didn't see him getting there. And then for some reason, like I don't know if it was by design, but Max never really went one-on-one and tried to beat the right tackle. A lot of times they tried to set up like 2- and 3-man games where they're doing stunts, and he was trying to run up the middle, and they got him free a couple times. But you never saw him really get loose on the edge that we have seen him do throughout his career, and he's done it a lot this year. But I don't know what the rush plan was, but it didn't look like those guys were screaming off the edge like they have the last couple of weeks. They were trying to set up a lot of stuff, and maybe Braden Smith just, they got their right tackle back and he had a good game. And then the guy, Ryman on the other side, seemed to hold his own against Malcolm Kuntz. Tyree Wilson didn't play a lot of snaps in this game either. I think it was 20. So they took some of his snaps away. So I don't really know. The pass rush didn't get there. There was not a lot of pressure on Gardner Minshew. And a lot of it, too, they run a lot of RPOs. So maybe they just didn't want those guys to scream up the field and create running lanes. And then hopefully there was a couple times Robert Spillane did a really good job in the RPOs of getting in those throwing lanes and causing Gardner Minshew to hold on to the ball.
Yeah. Secondary wise, we talked about Jack Jones, a little bit over aggressive. What about Merrick and Merrick Epps? It seems like this game really boiled down to the 2 big plays they gave up. It just really seemed like I think defensively they were fine. It looked like, but then they get the 2 big plays in this ball game, and that's ended up costing them.
And then they couldn't stop the run in the second half when they needed a stop. They couldn't stop the run. But Merrick and Epps have been fine all year, and I think we were texting the other day. Like they've been fundamentally sound. They're where they're supposed to be. There's great communication between those 2 guys. They're not giving up the explosive plays down the field. You'd like to see, some more turnovers out of the pair, out of the 2 of them combined. I'm pretty sure Marcus Epps doesn't have an interception. I think Merrick has 2, maybe 3. So maybe you got, and then maybe a couple of forced fumbles or fumble recoveries. But you'd like to see him be a little bit more active in the passing game. But when you're not giving up big plays over a 16, 17 game schedule, your safeties are doing pretty good.
Yeah. That is true. We have not seen the Paul Gunther, basically somebody roaming down the field by themselves within 30 yards, make it look like the Raiders are playing with 5 players type secondary. So
I just had flashbacks to like 2017 or 2018 when the Falcons week 2 put up like 48 and Matt Ryan threw like 5 touchdowns and guys are running the wrong way. Reggie Nelson was getting beat like crazy. Like you haven't seen any of that this year. No LaMarcus Joyner or Reggie Nelson type safety.
Yeah.
Play.
I forgot who it was. I don't know what former Raider is having who has a podcast, but he's a defensive back. And somebody was in a Twitter space and talking to us about it. Like he talks about how difficult it was to play for Paul Gunther. Like it was just like how bad it was. It was just interesting. I gotta find that interview because I gotta hear that because that's just so funny. Um, let's see here. As far as let's just break this down. Like folks we want back. So like under contracts, right? We got is let's see is Meek and Nate the only people who are would be free agents, possible free agents this year? Is on the secondary.
I think
Or is
Meek
it,
has one more year because he was a 2020 draft, so he's
okay,
at
one more
4 year
year,
deal.
one more 4 year
So he'll be
deal. So
back in 2024.
all right. So and then I think Hobbs then suddenly leaves Hobbs, right?
Hobbs would have been,
Is he a
he was
free?
a Mayock pick. He might have been 2019. I don't have the free agent list in front of me.
Yeah,
You
I'm just
have
trying
it.
to
Like,
look. Yeah.
I believe Illuminor on the offensive side, Andre James and Illuminor are free agents.
Let me check that real quick while we do that. 'Cause I'm interested to see about who would come back and stuff like that for the
I think it's going to depend on who the GM
and
and
the
then who
coaches,
also
yeah,
the
that's the
scheme.
coach. Yeah, it's coach.
But we can give a quick rundown of guys we would like to
Yeah,
see back.
yeah. Let's see, team salary cap. Let's go. Oh,
I got it right here. DeAndre Carter.
when nobody's home, the internet so much faster. Um,
I know. I'm looking. I'm just going to do unrestricted. We won't talk about restricted or
yeah, unrestricted.
exclusive rights, but
What we got?
Josh Jacobs obviously is the lead guy here.
Mm-hmm.
I think we touched on that the last time. I would bring him back on if you can get him in that $8 million a year range. I saw today. I think it was PFF put out their top 100 free agents, and they predicted that Jacobs would get a 3 year, $40 million deal. So his AAV annual value would be like 13.3. I'm not giving him 13.3
13.
a year over 3 years. He hasn't earned that this year.
Oh,
Bilal Nichols, I would probably let walk. You could probably find another guy. He hasn't been a difference maker for 2 years.
no, he has not.
Um,
James, you can go. James can
I would
go.
let James. They predicted his prediction was 3 years, 24 million. I want to say 12 or 13 guaranteed. So basically a 2 year guaranteed contract at 8 million a year.
Yeah.
I would probably find another center and move Parham inside for that. You can get guards for like $2 million. Like you don't need to
Yeah.
overpay us.
Good. Good.
Uh,
Um,
Illuminor is a free agent. He was actually on the list. I think PFF said it was 1 year, 7 million for him. So depending on what happens there, might be a little rich. But if it's a 1 year deal and you have cap room and you can't figure out that position,
yeah.
and at worst he's a swing tackle. If you could get him for like 4.5, I'd probably bring him back.
Let me reel off a couple of names here. And see what you
Okay.
think. Would you bring? I mean, he's basically retired on his couch, and then the Raiders called him. But he seemed like he'd been a very good guy in the middle for the Raiders. John Jenkins. Would you bring John Jenkins back, or you think you can improve?
On a 1 year
One
like
year, one yeah, one
league
year,
veteran, yeah, like I wouldn't
yeah,
give him a ton of money, but if he wants to be a rotational piece, yeah, if he wants to come back, and he's been very good against the run,
yes,
and the
yes.
Raiders don't have anyone else on the roster that can be a space eater in the middle.
Fan favorite. I know you mentioned there are some stands, but there definitely are some Omega Roberts stands. Could you improve from that position to get somebody better than Amik Robinson?
Okay, so he is an unrestricted free agent, so he
He
must have been in
is.
the 2019 draft class.
Well,
Um, I don't know. It depends on what he wants. He's started all year. If he
yeah.
wants starter money, I would say no. If he wants
Mhm.
to come back and let's say it's a 1 year, maybe even a 2 year, like three, so like 2 years, 6 million. Just have him
Yeah.
give him Brandon Faison's contract. But you got to remember, Faison
Didn't play
is
at
under
all.
contract, I believe, for
Yeah.
next year. He played a little bit last week. You still have Hobbs under contract. You have Bennett under contract. You have Jones under contract. So in an ideal world, he's not a starter next year. He's just depth in the secondary, so you can't pay him as a starter. And you're probably going to draft a corner too.
Yeah. You got Van Roten and Meredith.
I mean, I bring them back as camp bodies if they want to go through camp and try to make the team. They're both on 1 year
That's it.
deals. Ben Roten has actually been a little bit better as the season's gone on,
Yes.
but I would like to upgrade that position. And Adam Butler, I would bring Adam Butler back. If
Okay. You
Adam,
mentioned
I would
okay.
find a way to bring
Okay.
Butler. Just a couple other names I'm looking at. Hooper, probably not. Abdullah, probably not. Carter,
No.
probably not. Horsted, probably not. Johnson, no.
Uh-uh.
Bolton can come back as a camp guy for 1 year,
Yeah.
um, and see if he can make the team. But they don't have a lot of needs, like outs or a lot of guys that really are going to demand contracts other than Jacobs.
Yeah.
So
That's true. Yep. Interesting. Kind of see who possibly be back. But obviously it's hard to tell because we have no idea if we're talking about Coach Pierce or we're talking about Coach Harbaugh. We never know. So
did you see the video of Adam Butler? I think Hondo Carpenter posted it. I watched it this morning when I was at a car dealership, and they asked him about next year, like, does he want to come back? And he was like, yeah, I want to play for the Raiders. And he didn't really have a preference one way or another. If it was Pierce or if it was someone else, he's like, I want to come back to the Raiders. And Tyree Wilson standing next to him. And Tyree Wilson says, AP going to be the coach next year. Like, he just said it. Like,
Tyree
and then
Wilson said that.
And Honda goes, well, there it is from the mouth of Tyree Wilson. Antonio Pierce will be the Raiders coach next year.
We'll see what happens. Let's see here. Anything else on that Cole game? Yeah, pretty much.
No,
Broncos.
I mean, that was pretty much it. I thought at times, the stats can be misleading on O'Connell, 30 of 47 for 299 or whatever it was. I thought his accuracy wasn't very good. Like, there was a lot of throws. A lot of people like, oh, there was 8 or 9 drops. Like, he's throwing the ball behind guys. Like, when you're running across the field and the ball's behind you and you have to try to contort your body and make a catch, that's not a drop. Like, I think fans need to understand what a real drop is. And then, like, when the quarterback just isn't very accurate, that's not a drop. But there was some balls that got away from a couple of receivers. But I thought for a guy who's not mobile, I have questioned kind of the accuracy of Aiden O'Connell as the season's gone on. And that was supposed to be like one of his selling points.
I was gonna say the same thing. Like, cousin, you're not mobile and you're not accurate. Like, that's hard. That's a hard sell. Even as a backup, that's a hard sell. Like, the Raiders are gonna have to try to really improve that.
But he's the next Tom Brady. Don't you remember that from the preseason?
Dude, like, here's the thing: the Raiders jerseys are sweet. It doesn't mean everybody in that jersey needs to be in it for their whole career. So let's keep it that way. Let's understand that part of it.
Bring him back for 3 more years and see what happens. Like, but I would in no way is he walking into training camp QB1.
Somebody was joking. They were like, "Couldn't you see, if they God forbid if they were brought if they brought Gruden back." Oh yeah, I'll work with him. I'll get him going. Ryan doesn't want to entertain it. I can see his face. He doesn't want to entertain it. It's so gross. No. It's so gross.
Drew, I'll pull the Drew Rosenhaus card. Next question.
All right, Raiders, Broncos. We got, as far as offensive rank, they rank 26. We rank 29th. Defense, they rank 30th. The Raiders are 18th. Passing 26th, they're 23rd, and then rushing, it says they're 17th, we're 30th. So on NFL.com. Is this a game? The games like this kind of terrify me, because I just don't want to have anything happen to 98 and 17 in this game. Because if it does, and it kind of dips over a lot, and dips over the next game. But you can't play football scared. It's out there. You gotta play. You gotta play those games. But this should be a game where, like, you're playing Stidham. He really has not. He's really struggled to duplicate anything he did in that first game. That first game, you might have thought you caught lightning in a bottle. He played the Chiefs. It didn't. He had some drops in that game, but it didn't really duplicate it. And last week when I watched him play, they didn't look really good in that game either. Very, very inaccurate, missing people all over the place. It was the first game playing in a long time. What are your thoughts about the Raiders and Broncos?
Yeah, I think pass protection is going to be an issue because it looks like Mike McGlinchey's not going to play in this game either. He's missed practice the last 2 days, and they already had a kind of a questionable offensive line as far as pass protection. And if the Raiders, if they can get back to how they were rushing the passer for the last month before that Colts game, Jared Stidham's going to be running for his life. And I watched some of that game too, and it looked like he was off target. He was making some kind of questionable decisions. He wasn't really scrambling like he did against that 49er in the 49ers game last year for the Raiders. So it didn't. I'm not really. I didn't see anything from that game, and I kind of had the quad box on YouTube, so I was watching it while I was watching other games. Nothing really stood out. He didn't force a lot of things. He wasn't throwing the ball into double coverage where there were some turnover worthy plays against the Chargers. And this game, it's a toss up. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to come out, who's gone Nick Van Exel 1-2-3 Cancun. I think the Raiders are going to come out and play hard because they know that last week they didn't win and they're really fighting for AP. So I think out of the two, I would think the Raiders players are going to come out there at home. They have more to play for.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos are out of it. They're playing their backup quarterback. They benched Russ. Guys are going to want to fight for the Broncos because it's the first year under Sean Payton. Sean Payton's coming back, so the guys are going to be fighting for contracts. But I do think this is going to be tough for the Raiders if Colton Miller can't go, and you're running Brandon Parker and Illuminor out on the edges against this Broncos defense. This Broncos defense has played really well over probably the last 8 to 10 weeks, and they still have a very good secondary. So is O'Connell gonna force the ball to Adams if they put Surtain on him, or is he gonna work back to Myers and kind of say other guys? It sounds like Michael Mayer's out. He's not playing according to the reports today. So where are the Raiders going to get offense in this game if they can't run the ball with Zamir White and they're not really throwing the ball to Devontae if Patrick Surtain's on him? Trey Tucker better have a huge game or else the Raiders are going to really struggle to score points. And I also think the Broncos are going to struggle to score points too.
Take the under. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing about when you mentioned Tucker, and I was like, that's like the perfect where the Raiders are set up offensively to really kind of go out there and maybe get a Tucker bomb early in the game. If it's not open, then you overthrow it. But I mean, you can do some things. I mean, that should be a splash play early in the game. Should be part of Bo Hardegree's.
We asked for that in the Colts game. It didn't happen.
It didn't. Well, for Tucker, all I saw was mailbox go up every 5 seconds because he was running by. Dude. I gotta say this, especially on turf. Like you saw it, like when that whole saying, if he's even, he's leaving. Like the Raiders have something in him, and people kept on. People were like texting me during the week saying, "Hey, damn, it'd be nice to see that Washington quarterback throw to Trey Tucker, because he's open down the field. If you get a down the field thrower for the Raiders next year, I mean, his speed, you get him and maybe get another guy on top of that. I mean, that could really help open up this entire offense if you get something going on like that. But we'll see what happens as far as that goes. Go ahead.
I would hedge your bet a little bit on Tucker because the way the offense is currently constructed, he's never going to be the first, second, or third option. They're going to throw the ball to Adams, they're going to throw the ball to Myers, and they're going to throw the ball to Mayers. So, like, I was thinking about this the other day. Best case scenario is you get like a Nelson Aguilar season out of him, 48, 50 catches. Maybe he can get up in the 800-yard range and score you 5 or 6 touchdowns. I don't want to get over my skis here and people going crazy thinking he's the next Tyreek Hill and he's going to have 2,000 yards and 100 catches. Like, he's never going to be that player. Like, he's going to be a nice complementary piece in the offense to add an explosive play every, couple of weeks, but he's never going to be a high target guy. He's basically there to draw coverage away from other guys. And then if they leave him one-on-one, like that's what bothered me about that play I put online. Like, they clearly were playing him one-on-one on the backside. And Aiden O'Connell never looked. Like, that should be an alert. Like, hey, if I look over and I have one-on-one coverage with Trey Tucker and he's running a go route, just take a look. Especially on the backside, if you're waiting for Devontae Adams to run a deep dig on third down, you have plenty of time to take a peek and see what's going on the other side of the field and then work your way back to Adams.
Yeah, when I said that, I didn't. I did. That's what I'm thinking about. Not. He
Yeah.
can't. He can't be a number one option throwing balls. But I'm just saying, like at least 2 or 3 times a game, I would love to see him get a bomb thrown to him because get the coverage and loosen up a little bit as far as that goes. I do think. I mean, I think we're both gonna as far as like picking the game. I think it's pretty to me, the game's pretty easy to pick. I mean, like for me, I think the Raiders. I think the Raiders win the game. I think they find a way to win the game. I think they're playing for their coach. I think they're playing for, all they're playing for. They're playing for playing in front of their home crowd one last time, and I think the Raiders go out there and win the game. I mean, as far as like 20-17, 24. I mean, 24-17, something like that. I think the Raiders go away and find a way to win this game.
Yeah, I think they do find a way to win it. They're at home. It's the last home game. I think it's like 17-13. I don't think this is gonna be a high scoring game at all.
Yeah.
I do think the Raiders players are going to leave it all out on the field in week 18 for AP. They're going to do everything they can to help him try to secure that job. And I kind of envision like maybe the crowd gives AP a standing ovation after the game, like some way for thank you. Like we don't know what the future holds,
Yeah.
but we appreciate the Raider way and everything you did to get us through this season after the whole Josh McDaniels debacle.
Yeah.
And maybe that rolls into the offseason, but we'll see. We don't know if AP is going to coach. This might be his last game.
Yeah.
So AP has nothing to lose. I want to see a fake punt. I want to see him going for it on 4th and 2, 4th and 3. Like, just leave it out there, AP.
Like seriously, like seriously, like listen,
Fake punt. Let's go.
if you're at the opponent's 44-yard line, just don't punt. Like you know what I'm saying? Like don't punt, please don't punt. Go for it, brother. Go for it. Do your
I mean,
thing.
if you trust your defense that much, like you should assume that they're going to hold the other team to a field goal if you do give them the ball around midfield or at the 40-yard line.
Yeah, and then if
So
it's a half yard, you got a guy who you can QB sneak with, and you also do have a running back who has the ability to run the football. So
let's just the Jacoby Myers pass. Let's just scrap that out of the playbook this week.
Yes, please. All right, real quick. Anything else on the game, real quick? Because I got one more thing before we get out.
No, I do think the Raiders find a way to win this game and finish the season in second place in the AFC West, and they finish with a 8-9 record.
Woohoo! 8-9. We love it.
Which is what I predicted in the preseason. So
I was way under. The players did their surveys this week about the coaches they love. So I guess top 5 offensive coordinators was Frank Smith, Thomas Brown from the Panthers, Brian Schottenheimer. I guess that last name alone would take him off the list for the Raiders. Brian Callahan and then Kellen Moore would be
that's a garbage list.
like,
my question is, where did that list come? Was
that's the NFLPA survey of like the top, like they got the best review from the players. These guys.
So let's just pick the guys that are running the best offenses in the league, like that are the offensive coordinators by name. Like most of those guys don't even call plays. So how would you know you wanted to play? I thought it was like guys they would want to play for.
No,
I didn't really read the article.
I think it was. Let me get this. So hiring cycles or approaches. This is from Tom Pelissero, Raiders beat reporter. It says as the hiring cycles approaches, this is interesting. The NFL Players Association asked over 1,700 players to rate the coordinators they play for on a 1 to 10 scale. So this is who they play for, and that's what
they play for.
Yeah, they play for. So it's all. So everybody who voted is like if the Panthers play for Thomas Brown, so that's why Thomas Brown's on this list. So. All right.
That list doesn't mean much to me.
I know. But the defensive guys, let's go real quick. Defensive guys are Aaron Glenn, Steve Wilkes, Dan Quinn, Brian Flores, and Raheem Morris. And then
the only people that answered were the people that played for those teams, or like
no,
they asked 1,700. How many replied?
I don't know.
I don't know what this list is all about.
And then John, for the STs, we got John Fossil, Chris Tabor, Matt Daniels, Dave Phipp, and then Darren Rizza. So
I'm supposed to believe that he has 1,700 NFL players. What
yeah,
defensive coordinator do you want to play for? And they all said Aaron Glenn.
this is
Out of all the
says
defensive minds in the NFL, they want to play for Aaron Glenn.
so. They said
And I
no.
have nothing
So
against Aaron Glenn, but I wouldn't put him in the top 10 defensive coordinators in the league.
some of the players to rate the coordinators they play for on a 1 to 10 scale.
I don't know what that means. That they play for, like
they play for. So
basically, the Lions players like Aaron Glenn more than any other team's players like their coach.
Yes.
Is that the way that...
so Dolphins players like Frank Smith more than the Raiders players like Bo Hardegree, because he might have got 1s instead of 10s. So who knows?
I like Frank Smith more than I like Bo Hardegree, and he doesn't even call play.
I like Thomas Brown better. I like Bo Hardegree. I don't know if Thomas Brown is.
Thomas Brown lost. He wasn't the play caller, then he was, and then he wasn't, then he was.
So I have no idea. So we'll see.
I don't know. Nice article for NFL.com.
Listen, Tom Pelissero, man, he holds it down for the Raiders. So I need breaking news from Tom. I love it. All right, Raider Nation. You have a great weekend. Enjoy these games, Ryan. We'll see. We'll talk to you on the recap on Sunday. Take care, and that's pretty much it, folks. I'm sad when it's like this. It season gets to this point.
I know we're gonna be going back to the top 5 Mariah Carey songs here pretty quick.
We're gonna have to. All right, Raider Nation. Take care.
Take care.